Captain Taemin stood before the massive holographic display, his four eyes wide with excitement. The ancient database floated before him like a treasure chest of secrets. His ship had discovered it 3 days ago in the ruins of an old space station. The database contained information about every known species in the galaxy. "Show me the humans," Taemin ordered his computer. The display changed, showing a bipedal creature with smooth skin and small teeth. The information made Taemin laugh. According to the records, humans were mammals that needed water to survive. They had no natural weapons like claws or poison. Their bodies were soft and weak. But then Taemin saw something strange. At the top of the file, bright red letters spelled out, "Apex Predator Species. Galactic Quarantine Recommended. Computer." "Explain this warning," Taemin said. "These files contain references to something called the Terran Pacification Wars. The wars ended approximately 200 years ago. No details are available about the conflict." Taemin scratched his scaled chin. How could such weak creatures be dangerous? He scrolled through more information. Humans lived on only a few dozen worlds. They rarely contacted other species. Most of the galaxy seemed to ignore them completely. "Sir," his communications officer called out. "High Command wants to speak with you." The hologram of General Kexra appeared on the main screen. The old Vorthak's eyes gleamed with interest. "Captain, what have you found?" "An ancient database, General. It contains information about all known species. There are some interesting entries about humans." "Humans?" General Kexra leaned forward. "We know little about them. They keep to themselves in the outer regions." Taemin shared his findings. He showed the general the physical data about humans. Their weak bodies, their need for specific atmospheric conditions, their short lifespans. "And yet," Taemin said, "the database claims they are apex predators." General Kexra studied the information for several minutes. Finally, he spoke. "These records are ancient. Perhaps humans were different long ago. Or perhaps other species exaggerated their threat. My thoughts exactly, General. Captain, I want you to test these humans. Find one of their small settlements. See how they respond to pressure." Taemin felt a thrill of excitement. The Vorthak Empire was young but growing fast. They had conquered 12 worlds in the past 50 years. If humans were truly weak, Vorthak could expand into their territory. "What are your orders, General?" "There is a human research station in the Kepler system. Only 47 scientists work there. Attack it. See how humans react when their people are threatened." "Understood, General. We will test their famous reputation." 3 days later, Taemin's battle group approached the Kepler system. 5 Vorthak warships moved silently through space toward the human station. The station orbited a small moon, far from any major shipping routes. On the station, Dr. Hana was working late in her laboratory. She was studying samples from the moon's surface, looking for signs of ancient life. The work was peaceful and important. Her team hoped to prove that life could exist in the harsh conditions of space. Dr. Hana had dedicated her life to understanding other species. She believed that all intelligent life could work together. Her research focused on finding ways for different species to communicate and cooperate. Dr. Hana, her assistant, called over the communication system. "We're detecting ships approaching the system." Dr. Hana looked up from her microscope. "Scheduled supply run?" "No, ma'am. These aren't human ships. The computer doesn't recognize the design." Dr. Hana felt a chill run down her spine. First contact with an unknown species was supposed to follow strict protocols. Ships weren't supposed to approach human space without permission. "Try to establish communication," she ordered. Her communications officer worked frantically at his console. "I'm sending standard first contact messages in all known languages." No response. "How many ships?" 5. "They're big, Dr. Hana. Military design." Dr. Hana made a quick decision. "Send an emergency message to Earth Command. Include all sensor data about these ships." Already working on it. The Vorthak ships moved closer. Captain Taemin watched the human station on his screen. It was small and obviously peaceful. No weapons, no shields, no military ships nearby. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "the station is sending some kind of transmission toward human space." "Block it," Taemin ordered. "We don't want them calling for help too early." "Signal blocked, sir." Dr. Hana saw her transmission fail. The unknown ships were jamming all communications. This was not a peaceful first contact. This was something else entirely. "Everyone to emergency stations," she announced over the station speakers. "This is not a drill." The 47 scientists and staff members scrambled to their positions. But Dr. Hana knew they had no real defenses. The station was built for research, not war. Dr. Hana, her assistant said quietly, I managed to launch one of the data probes before they jammed us. It's small enough that they might not notice it. Dr. Hana nodded. The probe contained all their research data and a record of what was happening. If they didn't survive, at least someone would know what happened. Captain Taman studied the station for several more minutes. Begin the attack, he finally ordered. The Vorthak ships opened fire. Their energy weapons struck the station's hull, tearing through the metal like paper. Dr. Hana felt the station shake around her. Hull breach in Section 7, someone reported over the emergency channel. Sealing blast doors, came another voice. Dr. Hana ran toward the emergency shelter, helping injured colleagues along the way. The station's artificial gravity flickered on and off. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the corridors. Dr. Hana, her communications officer, called out, I'm detecting a small probe that escaped before the jamming started. She felt a moment of hope. At least their message would reach human space. Another blast shook the station. This time the lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in, but Dr. Hana could hear the hull cracking under the assault. In the emergency shelter, she gathered with the remaining survivors. 23 people huddled together in the small space. Is there anything we can do? Someone asked. Dr. Hana shook her head. We're a research station. We have no weapons, no defenses. Why are they attacking us? I don't know, Dr. Hana said quietly. She looked around at her team. These were good people, scientists who had dedicated their lives to peaceful exploration and understanding. The final blast came 15 minutes later. The station's hull cracked open like an egg. Dr. Hana's last thought was about her research on peaceful first contact. She had spent years developing protocols to help different species meet safely. Captain Taman watched the station break apart. Debris scattered into space. No escape pods had launched. No distress signals had gotten through. Any survivors? He asked. Negative, sir. The station is completely destroyed. And their response? No response, sir. No military ships came to help them. No return fire. They died without any meaningful resistance. Taman felt satisfied. The great human reputation was clearly a myth. These creatures were exactly as weak as they appeared in the database. Set course for home, he ordered. Prepare a full report for High Command. As the Vorthak ships left the system, the small data probe continued its journey toward human space. Inside its memory banks, it carried Dr. Hana's final research and a complete record of the attack. The probe would reach Earth in 6 days. Captain Taman had no idea that he had just made the biggest mistake in Vorthak history. The humans he had just killed were not soldiers or colonists. They were scientists working for peace. And in human culture, there were few things more sacred than those who worked for peace. The probe drifted through space, carrying its message toward the heart of human civilization. Soon, humanity would learn what had happened to Dr. Hana and her team. And then the galaxy would remember why the ancient database carried that warning about humans. But for now, Captain Taman celebrated his easy victory, confident that he had proven human weakness once and for all. The small probe tumbled through space for 6 days before reaching Earth's outer detection grid. Its emergency signal immediately caught the attention of the monitoring station orbiting Mars. Lieutenant J-Ho was drinking coffee when the alarm sounded. He nearly dropped his cup as red lights flashed across his console. Command, this is Mars Station 7. We have an emergency probe from the Kepler system. The response came quickly.
Download all data immediately.
Priority Alpha. J-Ho's hands moved across his controls. The probe's data flowed into his computer. Video files, research data, and sensor readings filled his screen. Then he saw the final transmission from Dr. Hana's station. The video showed Dr. Hana in her laboratory, speaking into the camera with calm professionalism, even as explosions shook the station around her. This is Dr. Hana Jin-A of Kepler Research Station. We are under attack by unknown ships, 5 vessels of military design. They have jammed our communications. We have no weapons and no defenses. This may be our final transmission. The video ended abruptly as the station's power failed. J-Ho stared at his screen in shock. Someone had attacked a peaceful research station. Someone had killed 47 unarmed scientists. Command, he said into his microphone. You need to see this immediately. Within an hour, the probe's data reached Earth Command headquarters. Director Bora was in her office reviewing peaceful contact protocols when her assistant burst through the door. "Director, emergency transmission from the outer systems." Bora looked up from her papers. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had spent 30 years working for peaceful cooperation between species. "What kind of emergency?" "Kepler Research Station has been destroyed. All hands lost." The words hit Bora like a physical blow. She had known Dr. Hana personally. They had worked together for 15 years, developing ways for different species to communicate safely. "Show me everything," Bora said quietly. They watched the probe's data together. The sensor readings showed 5 military ships attacking the defenseless station. The communication logs showed Dr. Hana's team trying desperately to establish peaceful contact. "Who did this?" Bora asked. "The ship designs don't match anything in our database, but the attack patterns suggest the Vorthak Empire." Bora closed her eyes. The Vorthak were a young species new to space travel. Humans had been monitoring their expansion but considered them harmless. "Get me General Daeho," she ordered. General Daeho arrived at Earth Command within 2 hours. He was an old soldier with scars from conflicts that most people had forgotten. He had lived through humanity's last major war 200 years ago. "I've seen the data," he said as he entered Bora's office. "This changes everything." "How do we respond?" Bora asked. General Daeho sat down heavily. "First, we need to understand why they did this. The attack serves no strategic purpose. Kepler Station had no military value. Dr. Hana was working on first contact protocols," Bora said. "She was developing ways to help new species join the galactic community peacefully." "Ironic," the general said grimly. "They killed the person most dedicated to helping them." Bora pulled up Dr. Hana's final research files. "Look at this." She was specifically studying how to approach aggressive species safely. Her work could have prevented exactly this kind of incident. General Daeho studied the files. Dr. Hana's research was brilliant. She had identified patterns in how young species typically behaved when they first encountered other civilizations. Her protocols could have guided the Vorthak toward peaceful integration. She was trying to save them from themselves, he said quietly. "And they killed her for it." General Daeho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth looked peaceful and green. Most humans lived quiet lives, never thinking about the dangers that existed beyond their world. "Director, do you know why humans stopped expanding our territory 200 years ago?" Bora nodded. "The pacification wars. Other species asked us to limit our growth." "Do you know why they asked?" Bora shook her head. "Because we were too good at war," General Daeho said. "We didn't mean to be threatening. We were just exploring, defending ourselves when attacked. But we kept winning." Every time he turned back to face her. Eventually, the older species realized that if humans continued expanding, we would eventually control the entire galaxy. Not through conquest, but through simple competence. So we agreed to limit ourselves. We agreed to become the galaxy's immune system instead of its dominant species. When aggressive civilizations emerge, we respond. We teach them the cost of unprovoked violence. Bora felt a chill. "How many times have we done this?" 17, the general said. 17 times in the past 200 years we've had to educate a species about the rules of civilized behavior. And now it's 18. General Daeho nodded. "The Vorthak just graduated from a minor concern to an active threat. They need to learn why the galaxy stays peaceful." "What's our response plan?" "First, we gather intelligence. Our networks will map every Vorthak installation, every ship, every communication channel. Second, we give them a chance to realize their mistake. Third, we educate them about consequences." Bora pulled up the Vorthak territorial maps. Their empire covered 8 star systems with 12 populated worlds. They had a fleet of approximately 300 ships. "This seems like overkill for such a small empire," she said. "It's not about their size," General Daeho explained. "It's about the message. Every species in the galaxy will be watching how we respond. If we let this slide, others might think humans have grown weak." But Dr. Hana believed in peaceful solutions. Dr. Hana died trying to contact them peacefully. They chose violence over communication. Now they need to learn why that was a mistake. Bora looked at Dr. Hana's photograph on her desk. The young scientist smiled back at her, full of hope for peaceful cooperation between species. "She wouldn't want us to start a war over her death." "We're not starting a war," General Daeho said. We're ending one. The Vorthak started this war when they attacked a peaceful research station. We're going to finish it. What about the Colonial Senate? Shouldn't they vote on military action? Already scheduled. Emergency session tonight. But Bora, you should know that this decision was made the moment Dr. Hana died. The Senate will authorize action because they understand what's at stake. That evening, the Colonial Senate met in emergency session. Representatives from 50 human worlds gathered to discuss the crisis. Civilian Council Leader Yi Jun spoke first. I urge caution. We don't want to overreact to what might be a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Director Bora stood up. They destroyed a research station. They killed 47 unarmed scientists. They jammed communications to prevent any peaceful resolution. But perhaps they were afraid. Perhaps they saw our station as a threat. General Daeho activated the chamber's main display. This is what they saw, he said. The screen showed Kepler Research Station from the Vorthak perspective. A small, clearly civilian facility with no weapons and no defenses. They knew exactly what they were attacking, he continued. This was a test. They wanted to see how humans would respond to unprovoked aggression. And how will we respond? Asked Senator Minho from the outer colonies. We will remind the galaxy why humans are respected, General Daeho said simply. The vote was unanimous. 47 representatives voted to authorize military action against the Vorthak Empire. As the Senate session ended, Director Bora approached General Daeho. How long will this take? She asked. That depends on how quickly they learn, he replied. Could be days, could be weeks. But Bora, you should know something else. What? We've been monitoring Vorthak communications since they destroyed the station. They're planning a larger attack on our colonial worlds. They think they've proven we're weak. Bora felt sick. They're going to attack more innocent people. Not if we teach them properly. The lesson starts tomorrow. What's the first lesson? General Daeho smiled grimly. That humans are very good at finding things that don't want to be found. Far away in Vorthak space, Captain Taman was celebrating his promotion. High Command had praised his successful mission against the humans. They were already planning attacks on human colonial worlds. None of them noticed the small human ships that had been shadowing their fleets for the past 3 days. The lesson was about to begin. 3 weeks after the attack on Kepler Station, strange things began happening in Vorthak space. It started small. A power grid on the outer colony of Vorthak 7 went offline for 6 hours. Engineers blamed equipment failure. The backup generators worked perfectly, so no one was hurt. 2 days later, the main communication array on Vorthak 12 stopped working. Again, engineers found nothing obviously wrong. The equipment simply failed to function. Captain Taman was reviewing reports in his new office when his aide brought him the latest incident summary. Sir, we've had 17 equipment failures across 5 colonies in the past 2 weeks. Taman looked up from his papers. His promotion had given him command of an entire patrol sector. He was responsible for protecting 3 Vorthak worlds from pirates and rebels. What kind of failures? Power systems, communications, orbital defense platforms. Nothing dramatic, but the pattern is unusual. Sabotage? No evidence of it, sir. Our security teams find no signs of outside interference. Taman frowned. Equipment failures were normal, but 17 in 2 weeks seemed excessive. Double the security patrols, he ordered, and run full diagnostics on all critical systems. What Taman didn't know was that Lieutenant So Young was watching his headquarters from a rooftop 3 kilometers away. She had been on Vorthak 9 for 8 days, studying their security procedures. So Young was part of a special human unit that most people didn't know existed. They were experts at moving through hostile territory without being detected. Their job was to solve problems quietly. She spoke into her communicator. Target building mapped. Security rotation every 4 hours. Electronic surveillance has 3 blind spots. Understood, came the reply from her handler. Proceed with Phase 2. Copy that. So Young had already disabled 2 power stations and a communication hub. The Vorthak security teams never found any evidence because she used their own equipment against them. A simple software modification could make any system fail naturally. Her next target was the orbital shipyard above. Vorthak 9. The facility built military vessels for the expanding Vorthak fleet. That night, So Young broke into the shipyard's computer network. She didn't destroy anything. Instead, she made small changes to the manufacturing specifications. Weapon systems would fail safety tests. Navigation computers would crash during startup procedures. The Vorthak would waste months trying to figure out why their new ships didn't work properly. On Vorthak 15, Engineer Kyung-ho was solving a different kind of problem. He had been a civilian engineer before the Kepler station attack. Now he volunteered his skills for more aggressive purposes. Kyung-ho specialized in making things disappear. He stood in the cargo bay of a Vorthak supply depot, surrounded by containers full of military equipment. The depot supplied weapons and ammunition to 12 different military bases. Such a shame, he said to himself as he attached small devices to the shipping containers. All this equipment and none of it will reach its destination. The devices wouldn't explode. Instead, they would gradually corrupt the container's tracking systems. Ships carrying the cargo would receive false navigation data. They would end up in empty space, lost and confused. By the time Vorthak search teams found them, the supplies would be weeks late, and the military bases would be running short on essential equipment. Captain Taemin was beginning to worry. His latest report showed 37 separate equipment failures across his sector. 3 supply ships had gone missing. 2 orbital platforms were operating at reduced capacity. "Sir," his communications officer said, "Admiral Grexus wants to speak with you immediately." The Admiral's hologram appeared on Taemin's screen. Admiral Grexus was the military commander responsible for defending the entire Vorthak frontier. "Captain, what's happening in your sector?" "Equipment failures, sir. Unusual number of them, but no clear pattern. My other sector commanders are reporting similar problems. Power grids, communication arrays, supply chains. Everything's breaking down." Taemin felt a chill. "All sectors, sir?" "Every frontier world. The core systems are unaffected, but our outer colonies are experiencing systematic infrastructure failure. Could this be connected to our mission against the humans?" Admiral Grexus was quiet for a moment. "I'm starting to think it might be." "Captain, have your security teams detected any unauthorized personnel on your worlds?" "No, sir. We've run intensive sweeps. No foreign agents, no sabotage equipment, no signs of infiltration." "Same here. Whatever's causing this, it's invisible to our detection methods." After the call ended, Taemin stared at his reports. 37 equipment failures, 3 missing supply ships, 2 orbital platforms running on backup power, and not a single piece of evidence that anyone was responsible. That night, Lieutenant So-young stood in the main computer center of Vorthak 9's planetary defense network. She had walked past 16 security checkpoints without being detected. Her equipment made her invisible to Vorthak sensors. She plugged a small device into the main computer core. The device would slowly corrupt the defense network's targeting systems. When Vorthak ships tried to use their weapons, they would miss their targets by several degrees. "Phase 2 complete," she reported. "Moving to Phase 3. Understood. Target package is already in position." So-young smiled. Phase 3 would be more dramatic. Captain Taemin was awakened at 3 in the morning by emergency alarms. He rolled out of bed and activated his communicator. "Report. Sir, we have a cascade failure in the orbital defense grid. 7 platforms are offline. Power systems are fluctuating across the entire network." Taemin rushed to the command center. His officers were frantically working at their consoles trying to restore the defense grid. "What happened?" "Unknown, sir. The main computer core started experiencing errors. The errors spread through the entire network. We're losing platforms one by one. Sabotage? No evidence of it, sir. The errors appear to be systemic failures." Taemin watched helplessly as his world's defenses collapsed. Within 2 hours, only 3 of 15 orbital platforms remained operational. "Sir," his aide said quietly, "this is exactly what happened on Vorthak 7 yesterday. And Vorthak 12 the day before. You mean this is spreading?" "Yes, sir. Whatever's causing these failures, it's moving from world to world." The next morning, every Vorthak communication device in the Empire received the same transmission. The signal appeared simultaneously on military networks, civilian broadcasts, and personal communicators. Director Bora's face appeared on the screens. She looked tired but determined. "I am Director Bora of Human Colonial Affairs. 3 weeks ago, your military forces attacked and destroyed Kepler Research Station. You killed 47 people who dedicated their lives to peaceful exploration and understanding." Captain Taemin stared at his screen in shock. The humans were talking to them. Among those killed was Dr. Hana Jin-ai, Director Bora continued. Dr. Hana spent her career developing protocols for peaceful first contact between species. Her work was designed to help civilizations like yours join the galactic community safely. The transmission showed footage from Dr. Hana's research, videos of her working with different species, developing communication methods, teaching peaceful cooperation. You killed the person most dedicated to helping you, Director Bora said. This is your first lesson in why that work was necessary. The transmission continued. For the past 3 weeks, you have experienced equipment failures across your frontier worlds. Your power grids have been unreliable. Your communications have been disrupted. Your supply chains have been compromised. Captain Taemin felt sick. The humans were responsible for all the infrastructure problems. These failures were caused by human agents operating within your territory. They have been on your worlds for weeks, moving through your defenses as if they didn't exist. Images appeared on the screen. Security footage from Vorthak installations, showing empty corridors and unguarded checkpoints. But enhanced imaging revealed human figures moving like ghosts through the facilities. Your security systems cannot detect our personnel, Director Bora explained. Your weapons cannot target our ships. Your communication networks cannot prevent our access. Admiral Grexus appeared on Taemin's secondary screen. The old admiral looked shaken. Captain, are you seeing this? Yes, sir. They've been inside our installations for weeks. Our security is completely compromised. The transmission from Director Bora concluded with a simple message. Lesson 2 begins in 72 hours. Evacuate your military installations. The screen went black. Captain Taemin sat in stunned silence. The humans had been watching them, infiltrating their worlds, disabling their defenses, and they had done it all without being detected. Sir, his aide said nervously. Should we evacuate the military bases? Taemin looked at the young officer. Admiral Grexus will decide. But privately, I think we should take their warning seriously. Why, sir? Because if this was Lesson 1, I don't want to see Lesson 2. Across Vorthak space, military commanders were having similar conversations. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that seemed impossible. They had infiltrated secure facilities, disabled advanced technology, and remained completely invisible to Vorthak detection methods. Some commanders wanted to fight. Others wanted to negotiate, but they all had the same question. If the humans could do this much damage without being detected, what could they do if they really wanted to hurt them? In 72 hours passed. The Vorthak did not evacuate their military installations. Admiral Grexus stood in the command center of Vorthak Prime's orbital defense station. Around him, 300 Vorthak warships maintained defensive positions. The entire home fleet had been recalled to protect their capital world. Sir, his tactical officer reported, long-range sensors are detecting ships approaching the outer system. How many? 50 vessels. They're not trying to hide. Admiral Grexus felt confident. 50 ships against 300. The humans were either very brave or very stupid. Battle stations, he ordered. All ships prepare for combat. Captain Taemin commanded one of the defending vessels. His ship, the Victorious, was positioned in the second defensive line. He watched his sensors as the human fleet approached. Sir, his sensor operator said, I'm getting strange readings from the human ships. What kind of strange? Their power signatures don't match anything in our database. And they're moving in perfect formation. I mean, absolutely perfect. No deviation at all, Taemin frowned. Perfect formation required computer-controlled navigation, but the human ships were too far apart for network communication. Range to human fleet? 2 million kilometers and closing. Admiral Grexus opened a communication channel to the approaching humans. Human fleet, this is Admiral Grexus of the Vorthak Empire. You are approaching our territory with hostile intent. Withdraw immediately or we will open fire. The response came from Admiral Wu Jin, commander of the human fleet. His image appeared on screens throughout the Vorthak formation. Admiral Grexus, I am Admiral Wu Jin of the human deep fleet. We gave you 72 hours to evacuate your military installations. You chose not to comply. Lesson 2 begins now. You are outnumbered 6-1, Grexus replied. Surrender now and we will treat you according to galactic law. Admiral Wu Jin smiled coldly. Admiral, you destroyed a research station and killed 47 unarmed scientists. You have forfeited the protection of galactic law. The communication ended. All ships, Admiral Grexus broadcast to his fleet. Open fire when the humans reach 1 million kilometers. Captain Taman watched his targeting computer track the human ships. They continued their perfect formation, making no attempt to take evasive action. Range 1,000,000 kilometers, his weapons officer announced. Fire. Admiral Grexus ordered. 300 Vorthak ships unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Energy beams and missiles streaked across space toward the human fleet. Captain Taman expected to see human ships exploding. Instead, he watched in amazement as every single weapon missed its target. What happened? He demanded. Unknown, sir. Targeting computers show direct hits, but sensors show no impact. Sir, the tactical officer called out. The human ships aren't where our computers think they are. On the main screen, Taman could see the human fleet continuing its approach. The ships appeared to be exactly where his targeting computer said they were. But clearly they weren't. Electronic warfare, he realized. They're spoofing our sensors. Admiral Grexus reached the same conclusion. All ships switch to manual targeting. Use visual confirmation only. But when the gunners tried to aim manually, they discovered something disturbing. The human ships seemed to shift and blur whenever they tried to focus on them. It was like trying to target shadows. Range 500 kilometers, reported the tactical officer. Captain Taman's weapons officer tried again. Sir, I can't get a solid lock. The ships keep shifting position. Keep trying. The human fleet suddenly changed formation. The 50 ships spread out into a complex three-dimensional pattern. They moved with impossible precision, as if controlled by a single mind. Sir, the sensor operator said nervously, I'm detecting massive power buildups from the human ships. All ships. Evasive maneuvers, Admiral Grexus ordered. Too late. Captain Yunji stood on the bridge of the human warship Retribution. Her ship was Admiral Wu Jin's flagship and carried experimental weapons that most humans had never seen. Target acquired, her weapons officer reported. Vorthak flagship identified. Fire, Captain Yunji ordered calmly. The Retribution's main weapon discharged. The beam was invisible, but its effects were immediate. Admiral Grexus's flagship simply stopped working. All power died. All systems went offline. The massive warship became a drifting piece of metal. Next target, Captain Yunji said. The human fleet opened fire in sequence. Each shot disabled a Vorthak ship completely. No explosions, no hull damage. The ship simply stopped functioning. Captain Taman watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet went dark. Sir, what kind of weapon can do that? I don't know, Taman replied. But we need to get out of here. Sir, the mighty sword just went offline. So did the sharp claw. We've lost 30 ships in 2 minutes. Full power to engines. Retreat to the inner system. But as Taman's ship tried to flee, he discovered that the human fleet had somehow surrounded them. The 50 human ships were now positioned in a perfect sphere around the 300 Vorthak vessels. How did they move so fast? His navigator asked. They didn't move. Taman realized with growing dread. They were never where we thought they were. Admiral Wu Jin's voice echoed across all Vorthak communication channels. Admiral Grexus, your fleet is now completely disabled. 47 ships remain functional. 1 for each scientist you killed. The rest are offline. Captain Taman looked at his tactical display. 253 Vorthak ships were drifting powerless in space. Only 47 ships, including his own, retained power and life support. Your weapons cannot target our ships, Admiral Wu Jin continued. Your sensors cannot track our movement. Your technology is 200 years behind ours. 200 years? Taman whispered. Dr. Sungmin appeared on the communication channel. The elderly human scientist looked tired but determined. I am Dr. Sungmin, Director of Human Military Research. The weapons used against your fleet represent technologies we developed during the Terran pacification wars. The scientist activated a holographic display showing human military development over the past 2 centuries. 200 years ago, other species in the galaxy asked humans to limit our territorial expansion. We agreed, but we did not stop advancing our technology. The display showed incredible weapons, defensive systems, and spacecraft designs that seemed almost magical. We have ships that can travel across the galaxy in days. We have weapons that can disable entire fleets without causing casualties. We have defensive systems that make us invisible to conventional sensors. Captain Taman felt sick. The humans had been holding back their true capabilities for 2 centuries. Why? He asked aloud. Dr. Sungmin seemed to hear him. Because we learned that power without restraint leads to dominance. And dominance without wisdom leads to destruction. The Terran pacification wars ended when humans chose to become protectors instead of conquerors, Admiral Wu Jin added. We use our advanced technology only when aggressive species threaten galactic peace. You are the 18th species we have been forced to educate, Dr. Sung Min said. The previous 17 all learned to choose cooperation over conquest. Admiral Grexus managed to restore minimal power to his flagship. His image appeared on the communication channel looking defeated. We surrender, he said quietly. Surrender is not Lesson 3, Admiral Wu Jin replied. Lesson 3 is understanding consequences. More human ships appeared on sensors, dozens of them, surrounding every Vorthak military installation in the Empire. Your shipyards are now offline, Admiral Wu Jin announced. Your weapon manufacturing facilities have been disabled. Your military academies are surrounded. Captain Taemin watched helplessly as reports came in from across Vortic space. Every military base, every weapons factory, every training facility had been simultaneously neutralized. How many ships do you have? Admiral Grexus asked. Enough, Admiral Wu Jin replied simply. Captain Yunji's voice joined the conversation. Admiral Grexus, Captain Taemin, all Vorthak military personnel. You will stand down your forces and report to designated assembly areas. Any resistance will result in the complete shutdown of your planetary power grids. You're going to occupy our worlds? Taemin asked. No, Admiral Wu Jin said. Occupation is what conquerors do. We are teachers. You will remain in control of your civilian government, but your military will be reorganized under human supervision. For how long? Until you understand why Dr. Hana's work was important. Until you learn to choose peace over aggression. Captain Taemin looked around his bridge. His crew stared at their instruments in shock. Their mighty fleet had been defeated in less than an hour by a force they couldn't even target properly. Sir? His communications officer said quietly. Admiral Grexus is ordering all ships to comply with human instructions. Taemin nodded slowly. They had no choice. The humans had demonstrated technological superiority that made resistance pointless. Acknowledge the Admiral's orders, he said. Power down all weapon systems. As the Vorthak fleet surrendered, Admiral Wu Jin opened a final communication channel. Captain Taemin, you led the attack on Kepler Station. Report to Human Command Ship Justice for debriefing. Taemin felt a chill. Yes, sir. Bring the complete records of your missees. 3 months after the Battle of Vorthak Prime, Captain Taemin stood in what used to be his military academy. The building looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. Human engineers had rebuilt all the damaged Vorthak infrastructure. Power grids worked better than before. Communication networks were faster and more reliable. Orbital platforms had been upgraded with advanced technology, but the military academy was now called the Cooperative Development Institute. Instead of teaching young Vorthak how to fight, it taught them how to explore space peacefully. Taemin was no longer a captain. His new title was student advisor. He helped other former military officers adapt to their new roles as civilian explorers and researchers. Sir, a young Vorthak student named Nexia approached him. I don't understand the lesson about human military history. Taemin smiled. Nexia was smart and curious, but she had grown up believing Vorthak were the strongest species in the galaxy. What confuses you? The humans won 17 wars before fighting us, but they stopped expanding their territory. Why would they limit themselves if they were winning? Taemin walked with Nexia toward the Academy's new library. The walls were lined with information about every known species in the galaxy. Let me show you something, he said. They stopped at a display showing human territory. The human worlds formed a small cluster compared to the vast galaxy around them. Humans could control this entire galaxy if they wanted to, Taemin explained. Their technology is centuries ahead of everyone else's. Then why don't they? Because they learned something important. Power without wisdom destroys civilizations. Nexia looked puzzled. I still don't understand. Taemin activated another display. This one showed the history of the Terran pacification wars. 200 years ago, humans were expanding rapidly across the galaxy. They weren't aggressive, but they were very successful. Every time another species attacked them, humans won easily. The display showed battle after battle. In each case, human forces defeated much larger enemy fleets with minimal casualties. Other species became afraid, Taemin continued. They realized that humans would eventually dominate the galaxy through simple competence. So they asked humans to stop. They asked humans to become protectors instead of conquerors. And humans agreed. Nexia was quiet for a moment. That seems now impossible. Who gives up power willingly? Species that understand the difference between strength and wisdom. Director J1 entered the library. He was the human administrator responsible for Vorthak reconstruction. Unlike military officers, he wore simple civilian clothes and spoke quietly. Mr. Taemin, Ms. Nexia, how are your studies progressing? Director J1, Nexia said. I'm trying to understand why humans limit themselves. The director smiled. That's a good question. Would you like to meet someone who might explain it better? He activated the library's communication system. A familiar face appeared on the screen. Dr. Hana, Nexia gasped. But she's dead. This is a recording Dr. Hana made shortly before her death, Director J1 explained. She was working on educational materials for first contact situations. Dr. Hana's image spoke directly to them. If you're watching this, it means your species has encountered humans for the first time. You're probably confused about why we behave the way we do. Taemin felt a pang of guilt. Dr. Hana had been trying to help his people even as they killed her. Many species assume that strength means dominance. Dr. Hana continued. They believe that the strongest species should control the weakest. But humans learned something different. The recording showed images of Earth's history, wars, conflicts, and the gradual development of peaceful cooperation. On our own world, humans fought each other for thousands of years. We learned that victory in war doesn't create lasting peace. Only wisdom and cooperation can do that. Nexia watched intently as Dr. Hana explained human philosophy. When humans reached space, we carried this lesson with us. We could have conquered other species, but we chose to protect them instead. Why? Nexia asked the recording. As if anticipating the question, Dr. Hana smiled. Because a galaxy full of diverse, thriving civilizations is more interesting than a galaxy controlled by a single species. Director J1 paused the recording. Dr. Hana spent her life developing ways for different species to cooperate. Her protocols have helped dozens of civilizations join the galactic community peacefully. Except us, Taemin said quietly. We killed her before she could help us. No, Director J1 said. Her work is still helping you. Everything we're doing here follows her guidelines for post-conflict integration. He reactivated the recording. Dr. Hana continued her explanation. Some species will test human resolve. They'll attack our people or threaten peaceful civilizations. When this happens, humans respond with overwhelming force. The recording showed footage from previous human interventions. 17 different conflicts where human forces had defeated aggressive species quickly and decisively. But our goal is never conquest, Dr. Hana emphasized. Our goal is education. We want to teach aggressive species that cooperation is more rewarding than conflict. How do you teach that? Nexia asked. The recording showed rehabilitation programs on other worlds. Former military officers learning peaceful trades. Weapon factories converted to civilian manufacturing. Military academies becoming research institutes. By showing them what they can accomplish when they work with others instead of fighting them, Dr. Hana said. Ambassador In-ho entered the library. He was the senior human diplomat responsible for Vorthak integration into the galactic community. Mr. Taemin, Ms. Nexia, I have news for you. What kind of news? Taemin asked. The Galactic Council has voted to accept Vorthak as a provisional member. Your rehabilitation period has been shortened to 18 months. Nexia looked excited. What does that mean? It means your species has adapted to peaceful cooperation faster than most, Ambassador In-ho explained. The Council believes you're ready to begin independent exploration projects. Taemin felt a mixture of pride and shame. Pride that his people were learning quickly. Shame that they had needed to learn these lessons at all. What happens after 18 months? He asked. Full membership in the galactic community. Access to advanced technologies. Participation in joint exploration projects. The same benefits enjoyed by every peaceful civilization. And if we had continued fighting? Ambassador In-ho was quiet for a moment. Other species have made that choice. They remain under human supervision until they change their minds. How long does that usually take? The record is 47 years. But eventually every species chooses cooperation. The benefits are too obvious to ignore. Dr. Hana's recording continued in the background. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders. There are ancient mysteries to solve, new worlds to explore, and countless species to meet. All of this becomes possible when civilizations work together. Nexia watched the recording with fascination. Dr. Hana really believed all species could cooperate? She proved it, Director Jaewon said. 17 times before your people, and now 18 times total. Taemin looked around the library. Vorthak students were working alongside human teachers, learning about peaceful exploration and cooperation. Former soldiers were training to become scientists and diplomats. Director Jaewon, he said, I have a question about human technology. Go ahead. Your ships, your weapons, your ability to disable our entire fleet without casualties. How long have you had these capabilities? 200 years. And you've been restraining yourselves all this time? Yes, why? Director Jaewon smiled. Because Dr. Hana was right. A galaxy full of diverse, thriving civilizations is more interesting than a galaxy controlled by a single species. 6 months later, the first joint Vorthak human research station was completed. It orbited the same moon where Dr. Hana's station had been, destroyed. The new station was called the Hana Jinne Memorial, Station for Peaceful Contact. Vorthak and human scientists worked together to develop improved first contact protocols. Taemin stood in the station's main laboratory, watching Nexia work alongside a human researcher. They were studying samples from distant worlds, searching for signs of new life. Sir, Nexia called out, we found something interesting. She showed him data from a recently discovered star system. The readings suggested the presence of a young civilization that had just developed space travel. What do we do? Taemin asked. We follow Dr. Hana's protocols, the human researcher said. Careful observation first, then peaceful contact when they're ready. And if they're aggressive like we were, then we help them learn what you learned, Nexia said confidently. Taemin smiled. His former student had become a teacher herself. Director Jaewon arrived for the daily briefing. How's the new contact protocol development coming? Very well, Taemin reported. Nexia has identified 3 potential improvements to the standard first contact procedures. Excellent. The Galactic Council will be interested in her findings. Director, Taemin said, I want to thank you for everything humans have done for my people. Don't thank me, Director Jaewon replied. Thank Dr. Hana. This was all her idea. He activated a display showing the memorial wall. Dr. Hana's image smiled down at them, surrounded by the names of other humans who had dedicated their lives to peaceful cooperation. She believed every species could choose peace.